So the other day I posted a video and YouTube would not push it. The impressions were flat, the views were dead, and I knew this thing was in trouble. So I made one tweak and we went from a 10 out of 10 to a 1 out of 10 the very next morning. So in this video, I'm going to show you exactly what I changed, the numbers I was looking at inside the YouTube analytics, and the simple rule that I use for the 1 hour mark, the 4 hour mark, the 6 hour mark, and the 10 hour mark to decide, do I just leave this thing alone or do I step in and try to tweak it before it's too late? So let's dive into the analytics and I'll show you exactly what happened. I'm also going to show you how you can do this for yourself and you can create a baseline of what your videos should be performing so you know whether or not you should go in there and mess with it. All right, so this is the video, and you might notice that I am looking at the reach, I am looking at the impressions because I go by impressions for that first 24 hours. There's some other things that we look at, which we'll talk about, but let's just zoom in here. And the reason why I'm looking at impressions is because if the impressions are not where they're usually supposed to be, according to my past videos, then I know that it's probably the title. And in this case, that's exactly what happened. So let me just kind of show you what I did. I went over here to the first hour, okay? And as this thing is launched, this is what we're seeing here. And as you can see right here, I'm not even gonna say that number out loud. It's a pretty bad number, but that right there, let's just keep that. Let's just say it's 660, all right? And from there, I'm gonna go up here to the 4 hour mark, 1,743. Now these are impressions, and then I'm gonna go here to the 6 hour mark. So I go right to here, 2,521. And then we're gonna go to, I'm gonna skip right over and go to the 10 hour mark. It's 3,934. So why am I sharing these numbers with you? Because I know, because of past videos, what these numbers should be as far as a baseline. And at this point, I was like, wait a minute, 3,934 is low for our standard. All right, for our baseline. Let me show you how I know this. So I'm a little bit of a tracking nerd, so I like to document every single video, and I'm just gonna give you here the last 5 that I did. Now, these are all on a Monday. That video that you just saw there was a Monday upload, and you're gonna see right here that I'm going across and I'm just inputting all of these times. Okay, so this video right here, which was a different video, and it was the Why It Happens video. I labeled it as that because that's what the thumbnail is. And we had 773. Then here at the 4 hour mark, we had 1,931. 6 hours, we had 2,721. 8 hours, we had 3,820. And then the 10 hour mark, we had 4,178. Now this video, if that's all I went off of, I'd be like, well, it's pretty normal. You know, it's almost on par with what it is. But then I went and I had this video that took off a little bit, and we had 1,040 in the first hour, and we had 4 hours here was 3,458. And you can see as I go across here, these are all the numbers. And at the 10 hour mark, we had 10,875. Now, the thing that we want to look at here is what's our baseline? And so I would say at the 10 hour mark, our baseline is probably right around 5,000, I would say, because we have a 4,000 here, we have a 5,300 here, we have a 10,000 here, we have a 6,400 here, we have almost a 4,000 here. So I'm going to say 5,000 at the 10 hour mark. So if we go back to the 10 hour mark, just to show this again, it was 3,934. So it wasn't terrible, but it was definitely underperforming. And so that's where I made the decision that I need to change the title. Because to me, impressions come from the title. If your title is not good enough to signal the algorithm, then you can't get clicks. Now, titles are probably the number one thing because without a good title, we can't get an impression. If we can't get an impression, we can't get a click. If we can't get a click, we can't get average view duration. None of that stuff. It doesn't matter. So that's why I really study titles. And I actually put together a swipe file for myself originally, and it's where I took 10 of our outlier titles that have performed very well, and I turned them into templates. I created a swipe file. If you'd like a copy of that, just comment hooks down below and I'll send it to you. What you can do is you can take those and you can adapt them to your niche because I templatized them. And all you need to do is plug in your niche. So if you want that, just comment hooks down below and I'll send it to you. That's why I didn't even talk about the click-through rate at this point, because generally I'm going to let the click-through rate ride all the way through the whole 24-hour cycle because of this, because we have all of these ups and downs. And the reason why we have these ups and downs is because YouTube is testing it in different audiences. So that's why the click-through rate, I typically won't change for at least the first 24 hours. But the impressions, I want to pay attention to that. Like I said, if we go back here, I have the data. Now, this is for a Monday video. I also have some random ones here. So let's go to that 10-hour mark again. We got 4,200, 4,700, 7,400, 7,200, 7,600. Now, this was on a Wednesday, a Thursday, a Wednesday, a Friday, a Friday. So this is all over the place, very similar times. But you see how I can now see that my baseline at the 10-hour mark, at the 8-hour mark, at the 6-hour mark, 4 and 1. And that's because I've taken the data that YouTube gives us and I put it into a spreadsheet just like this. This is something that you probably would want to do for yourself, because then you can decide, should I change the title or should I not? Well, I'm glad that I did, because this video got turned around. And if we look at this now, you can see right around at the 16-hour mark is where it started to really, really pick up. And so if we go back to the spreadsheet now, you can see everything right here. And then after the 10 hours, look at the jump from here to here. So now you probably want to know, what was the original title and what did I change it to? I'm going to share that with you right now. So the original title was, I let YouTube Analytics pick my next video. Did it kill my views? So that video was all about looking at your analytics, looking at your impressions, and seeing what has done really well in the past, impressions wise. That means that YouTube gave you the push. That's exactly what I did. And that video title I thought was going to be great, but I was wrong. So what did I change it to? Let me show you. So the title that I ended up going with was this one right here. I found a hidden more views switch in YouTube Analytics. And that right there is something that invokes a little bit more curiosity, okay? Because you want to know, what is the hidden more views switch in the YouTube Analytics? So I was still able to talk about YouTube Analytics, and I was also able to throw in there more views, and I was also able to put some curiosity in there about it being hidden, because it is hidden. If you don't understand impressions and if you don't understand how it works, you can't turn it on. You can't actually see what is performing if you don't know where it is. So it is hidden. There's no like clickbait here. So that right there alone took that from a 10 out of 10 to a 1 out of 10. So just this one tweak took a video that probably would have gotten a few hundred views to where now it's approaching a couple thousand views. And that's all because I knew what the baseline was. I made a decision at around the 10-hour mark and I changed the title. Now, does this mean it's going to always work? No, it's not. But it's definitely worth a try. And you can always change the title back if you want to. And that 24-hour window is so critical right now. I feel like you have that 24-hour window, and then after that, it's probably just going to stay the same, or it's going to maybe get a little bit of a push. But for the most part, it's going to wait for the next upload. So you have that 24-hour window. Really start to understand your analytics, because if you do understand your analytics, it gives you an edge on your competition. And if you want to understand analytics in a very simple way, but a very powerful way, watch that video next, because it's going to show you 4 metrics that I look at every single upload, and it has helped tremendously. Watch that video next, and I'll see you there.